Hello, hello. What's up, everybody? I just want to go ahead and follow through with my promise to get you a very simplistic and uh, version 101 tutorial of editing in Adobe Premiere. So this is going to be a very quick ramp up for people who've never used the program. Now I do have these slides, and this is a basic Premiere tutorial that I helped put together with a colleague of mine, and we went through these slides not that long ago. I will say that there's a few things that I don't want to cover in this video, in this slideshow, but we'll go over just so the majority of these slides. I will also add that some of the screenshots in this slideshow are from a project that we used from Faya, so I don't actually have that project with me. I created another project that we will. It's just very simple B-roll footage, so it's already kind of put off to the side, and it's not really relevant. Whatever project we use is fine. It's just really about getting you all familiar with the very simplistic form of editing, the most simplistic form of editing, and we'll build on that knowledge as we go forward. But with the possibility of Monday, us being under severe storm warning with a hurricane coming, I want to make sure that we cover at least one thing on online. Okay, so with that being said, let's just look at our first slide here. Okay, so this is the most important thing. You should start your project with the assumption that you've got enough of your footage collected already. So a lot of the editing process can be alleviated and made simpler by the fact that you've uh, thought through your project and you've shot your footage in the proper sequencing order, and that you've documented things with things like a slate to keep your footage organized once you are ready to import it into your Premiere project. So you will also need some sort of location, whether it be an area in your hard drive that has ample gigabytes of storage, or a second hard drive like a flash thumb drive or something where you're going to collect all the media, because once you start creating cache files and things like that, you can start to eat up your hard drive space. So you want to be conscious of that if you're using your own machine. I believe the lab computers pretty decent sized hard drives, so shouldn't be that much of a problem. You should have a thumb drive to back up everything as well. Okay, so when you do have your media collected, you want to kind of stash it ahead of time to a location. So in our project's example that we're going to use here, I have created a folder in my hard drive called Premiere, and then I've got another subfolder for the name of this project, and then actually going to put all my videos inside the B-roll folder. And if I have audio, and which I would probably put that in another folder. Same with graphics. Okay, so we can go ahead and fire up Premiere here. So I'm going to hit the Premiere icon on my desktop. If you don't have or on my taskbar, if you don't have a shortcut, you could just type in Premiere and it will come up in the start menu. Okay, so I will go ahead and I've got some projects already that I've been working on. I'm going to go ahead and click New Project, and then I'm presented with this New Project window. As you can see, I've got some recently saved locations. Okay, so that's the location that I want. If you don't have a location, you can go ahead and hit Browse, and it will bring up this File Explorer. You can go into your whichever drive you want to use. I recommend working locally if possible. just so you don't run into any hiccups when you are streaming your files into the project file. Because the one thing that you should get through your head is, unlike a graphics program like Photoshop, when you load in footage, you're actually referencing that as opposed to it actually being a part of the actual project. So wherever that footage is originally stored, you're going to need it in that location the next time you open the project. And if that doesn't make sense, don't worry too much about that for now. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and call this class demo project, and I believe I've already created that file, but I'm going to click OK. It already exists. I'm going to overwrite it because I want to start with a completely new file. Okay, so now you've got the interface open, and it should look something like this. If it doesn't, I believe that editing is probably what it looks like for you guys. Sorry about that. So yeah, so you've got right off the bat some workflow navigation, which is up here in the center. And you've got all these different workspaces for specific tasks. So if you're in the editing tasks, you're going to have this 4-panel split. If you are going to work with effects, it's going to open up this other 5th panel over here, which has a bunch of effects. There's a lot inside these folders, so audio, video, transitions. You will be getting in and out of these folders pretty soon in this class, but for now, let's just keep it in editing. You will see probably a darker appearance. So what I did was I lightened my appearance here. You can see that I can override all my UI to dark or light. I went for light just so it would be easier in the video recording that I'm doing now. Okay, so what we have here, if I bring back up our PDF, is so yeah, we didn't actually talk about this stuff. I could just quickly go over the timecode, and all the defaults are fine. We're not capturing from a tape source, but this would be what that would be. That drop down would be for the type of footage that we'd be capturing if we were connecting directly to a camera. But right now, for you guys, you'll probably be dropping in actual MP4 files that are already going to have a format established from the memory, from the card or the phone. And same with scratch disks. That is for capture devices as well. So you could have a look at that, but you don't really need to touch anything there. Okay, and then so here's our Premiere window as displayed. And so in our lower corner, we've got the project folder where all of the media is going to go. Okay, and it's going to be empty right off the bat. In the next step here, we're going to go ahead and create some organization structure to our project. So I'm going to go back over to Premiere. I'm going to click over here so that the focus is on our project folder. In effect, this is where you're going to get, this is basically like your library for this project. And you can see there's nothing there. It's telling you to import media to start. Before we do that, I'm going to go ahead and make a couple bins, and bins are basically folders. So I'm just going to call this video footage, or video is fine. And I'm going to make another one for audio or sound. However you want to organize this is up to you. That's fine. I'm just going to go ahead and keep that set, I will have sequences that are going to live outside of these folders. So that'll come in a second. So now we got to go find our video and our audio. So that's going to happen in the media browser, and you can see that right there we could see a file tree of our drives, and now I've got a local drive with all my program files, and that's my smaller hard drive that I don't keep my media on. But in my computer I also have a second hard drive, which is like a data drive, which has, you can see, a lot of folders for just different projects, different media. And in that folder structure, I've created Premiere, class demo, and then in this folder I have other folders. So in this folder, this you could see right here, this is our file. This is the file that is open. So if I deleted that, we'd have to resave a new folder, a new project file. But in this folder, in this location in B-roll, you can see I've collected some library footage. This is all a royalty-free stock footage that I found on the internet. I will post the links to where you can get this stuff if you want to practice editing. Royalties-free footage is a great way to start. And I just decided to go with some thematically similar stuff. So it's all from different safari shots in Africa. And then I made a quick little title card here in Photoshop, a little animation for a fictitious project called Surviving Serengeti, right? So that'll go in our project. So I'm going to grab all this footage. I'm just going to right click and hit import. And you can see over here we've got our projects folder again, and we have now footage, and I'm going to go ahead and drop that into the video bin. And you can see that it is there if we collapse and open these folders. I have nothing in the audio folder, but right now our video folder houses, our bin houses all the footage that we just imported. So I'll hop back over to the media browser, and I'll go into my music folder, and you can see if I double click these, because the audio files don't actually do anything, give you any preview, but if I double click one of them, you'll see it opens up in this window here, which is going to show us any of our source footage, whether it's video or audio. We can go in and click play and get a preview. It looks like that audio is playing back. So again, this is royalty-free audio that I just picked out that would fit this project well. So great. So I'm going to go ahead and grab these tracks, import them in to the project, and then organize them in the audio folder. So now I have ample amount of stuff to work with here for this just quick tutorial. I've got video footage, which if I preview, you can see up here, I've got full, half, quarter. These are just the previews. So if I hit full, quarter, this is the resolution of this footage. So we'll keep it at half, and that's going to increase the performance. So, and we can always move these things around, which is great about this UI. As anywhere where you click on these gray lines in the middle that separate the UI, you can stretch, and it will responsively adjust the entire UI. So that's great. So I'm going to go ahead and hit play just to check this footage out. And there should be sound. So you can see that this is previewing the audio and this is previewing the video. Yeah, so if you see here any of these clips that have what looks like a little audio waveform nesting on top of the icon, that means there is sound. Okay, so we got to figure out what's going on with the birds, but this one you can hear. Okay, and then the animated card has no sound. Okay, so we know we want that to start our project. So let's just go ahead and rough assemble this project down here, and this is where it's all the magic's going to happen here in this timeline area. Okay, so in the editing world, the typical editor will have as much real estate as possible dedicated to this timeline area, and he or she may or may not have these windows equally spaced. Sometimes this is all you need, right? You may not even need this if you're familiar and comfortable with what your footage consisted of. If you think things are labeled nicely and you know the way things are supposed to line up, you may not need to spend a lot of time with things like the in and out points and the insert and overwrite. We're going to talk about that, but I think for the purpose of getting you up and running and not making like an hour-long video here, I just want to go ahead and assemble edit, do an assembly edit, which is where we just kind of drag things in and we readjust over and over. Because now that we have clips here, I want to make this point. I can drag in a clip and it's going to create an automatic sequence. And apologize for this highlight color. Because I changed the UI, let's see if I can quickly fix this. The highlight color. No, that's not it. Let's try that. No, okay, never mind. What this is, and it looks different right here. You can tell the icon looks different. That is a sequence, and that is this thing here. You can see that main title card animated is the name. That's given the name of the clip that we dropped in by default. So we don't want that name. So we're going to call this main sequence, because this is just going to be a single sequence project. We're not going to have a bunch of sequences. So I'm going to move this out of our video bin. Let's do that here. Okay. So now our video is separate, our audio is separate, and our sequences are separate. Okay, so we're going to always work on this main sequence. So if I close this out and we have a no sequence timeline, all you have to do is double click and it will reopen that work project, right? This is the thing that we're going to finally export out from. And in this sequence, in this timeline UI, there's a few things you should know about. This navigation is useful. You're going to be using it a lot to stretch things out. So you can see as I stretch out and make this a much longer timeline, you can see the timecode update here. You can see, if I go with this UI, you can see the clip sort of reveal itself with this thumbnail, which is really useful. You can also see a slider here, and if I bring that down, by default that's the video's opacity, so you can see it gets darker and darker. So I could keyframe this. If I go to show clip keyframes, opacity, I don't have any keyframes on it, but once we start getting into that, you'll start to want to utilize this sort of wide clip view. Same goes with audio editing as well. So I usually normally keep things small to begin with. And now this is a clip that's sort of linked to the video. It's not the only video here. So I could drag it in again and again. And so let's say that we liked this for some reason. We wanted it to like to stagger. What we've done is take 3 of the same clips, and they're all referencing back to this main title card animated. And I can delete them, and it's not affecting our video footage over here, if that makes sense. So if we hop back over here, just want to make sure we're covering. Okay, so we loaded the sound and the video. Okay, so in our PowerPoint, covering how to make a new sequence versus just letting the clip determine the sequence. So that should be kind of self-explanatory. We could have gone to sequence, or no, it's actually file, new sequence here. And that's how you get to decide your preset. So if we go to the sequence here, and let's see. There's a properties, sequence properties. A lot of times I just okay, let's not worry about that. I think when we go to export our media, that's where you can start seeing, yeah, so here's where we would determine H.264, and then you can see our sequence properties right here. And that was due to the source being a 1920 by 1080, which is HD video clip. So I know for a fact that all these clips are close to HD, if not exact. So let's go ahead and drag a couple other things in. So I'm dragging in this, and I'm going to say, that's nice, but you know what? For this title, I want this last frame to lock for a few seconds so that the title is visible longer than just that very last second, right? So it's going to animate in, and then we need it to hold. So what we can do is if we right click on the clip, we can add a frame hold. And that is going to, we're going to have to zoom in to see it. What that's going to do is create a single frame here that we can stretch out. And if I just, like, I'm not using any of these tools at this point. All I'm using is the selection tool. And that's the greatest tool that's ever been invented. So I've created this single clip, right? And I can move it around. And all it is, oops, is a copy of this last frame. So if I scrub, and then stop, you can see that that's just the last frame being held for 1, 2, 3 keyframes. 1, 2, 3, yeah. So I want to extend it out. Let's say I'm going to extend it out to about 1.5 seconds. Let's try that. And I know that there's no audio on this, so let's go ahead and delete that. So I can go ahead and delete the audio by locking the video and deleting, just clicking on the audio track, and you can see that I locked it, and now I can unlock it with the little lock symbol. So I need that audio track to be available to me, so I don't want to click on that. You can see that you see that I had an auto save morning, so that's good. So we saved the project without even having to remember to. So let's hit play and see if that's long enough. Surviving Serengeti. Great. Okay, that works great. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and stack my birds because I want to actually cross dissolve a little bit so that when I see the last bit of my my title here, I want it to gradually dissolve here. So I'm going to do a real quick opacity keyframing on this birds flying through sunset. But I need it loaded in here because this is where I can edit this keyframe, edit this transition. So I've got so I double clicked on the clip, but I need something else than just this screen here. I need to get to the controls, right? So I need to go over here, and now your order of things might look a little different, but what you want is this effects controls, and it should be on any clip. So if I open up another clip, Africa here, I can hit play, effects controls. I've got my effects controls now. If go back to the birds effects controls, now I need to get to the opacity, which is you can see that we can keyframe all these values. And what I mean by keyframe is we can set something to occur over a certain amount of time, and it can be a move, like via positioning across the screen. I could actually move the clip around the screen. If I had this selected, I would now be able to move it around. I don't want to do that, so I'm going to hit the little stopwatch toggles the keyframes. I'm going to go ahead and do opacity, which I've already got toggled. So I need to start at 0%. So I'm just going to scrub down to 0. Now you can see that there is a little keyframe here, and that's what this is. This little blue diamond shape shows me that there's a keyframe set. And if I zoom in, now you can't really see it until you get into it. So let me go ahead and add another keyframe like right about here and hit the diamond. Now you can see here's a keyframe. And now if I take this 0% and bounce all the way back up to 100, you can see what happened over here, right? Let's do that again. So I'm going to hit undo and undo and go ahead and back over here in the opacity. I'm just going to click and drag, and you can see that over in my preview in the program window, you can see that it's changing. And then over here, boom, it drops in a keyframe. So that we have basically 3 places where we're getting feedback. We're getting feedback in the effects control window. We're getting feedback down here after I release at second 5.2 or 26, and then up here in the actual program window. So now if we go back up, and I can go all the way back to the beginning here, and then I can scrub out. And so now we can actually hit play, and what we're going to get, if all goes well, is a dissolve. And that's nice. It happens kind of quickly, and so I think that for the mood of this piece, I would want it to sort of be a more gradual dissolve. And you can see what I could do here is I could just start moving things around here. So I can grab this keyframe and move it over. I need to go let's see, to the previous keyframe here, and it's not visible to me, so and that is an issue. So I'm going to go ahead and reset my keyframe. I'm going to go ahead and delete this keyframe. So click on the diamond, we'll remove it. And I'm going to move my pointer to right about there, and I'm going to set a new keyframe. Now I can see the keyframe in the timeline. So I could go ahead and bring my selection tool and just click and drag, and now that brings it all the way down. So now I can just finesse it however I want in this view, which I find to be a lot easier than trying to do it up here with new numbers and everything. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and hit play. Boom. There are cool birds. And so our sound is not coming through. I'm going to go ahead and see if there's any sound. This is probably just an issue with this piece of stock footage. I'm not going to mess with it. So I am going to have sound though. I'm going to want sound. So I think I like that that nice piece of music with the thumb piano, the sort of the metallic thumb piano. I think it's this one. So I'm going to go ahead and hit play. Yes. Okay, so that's going to be cool at the beginning, I think. I'm going to play a couple others for you guys. That's pretty cool as well. That's got a lot of tension to it. But I think it gets repetitive. They're all going to be kind of repetitive. And this is another one. I basically just grabbed 3 pieces of world music. So this is kind of where artistic flair comes into play. I'm just going to do it, the first one, just kind of because I know that you know, it's not too overbearing. So I'm just going to grab it and drag it in. You saw what I did there, right? Just clicked and dragged the file in. Okay, and it, no matter where you drop it, you want to make sure you want to drop it. See, it's going to not let you drop it on a V track, a V1 or V2, V3. It's got to be on an A track, an audio track. So here we go. Dun, 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 dun. Okay. So now we're in the flow of editing our project. And so here you can see we really covered everything that you need to know to get through these first couple of projects. Now it just becomes a matter of understanding your story that you're trying to tell, understanding sort of how to organize your clips and everything, where to cut, where to break, and a lot of times you can just look at your waveform. So like here I can stretch my waveform out, say, you know what, I know that it's going to look nicer if we cut right at one of those piano sounds. So right here I'm going to go zoom in real close and cut to this other clip right on that beat. So let's go ahead and stretch that out. I'm going to hit play. And then maybe right here we'll drag in the school lion clip. And so we're now creating, you know, our sort of Africa version of the planet series. What's it called? Okay, so now I've got my clips connecting together nicely, and my edits are pretty smooth and in sync with the music. I'm going to go ahead and add a title. So I'm going to go ahead and add a title to this clip here. I think I want to get some sort of quote that goes nicely with the concept of these lions and these gazelle or antelope. So I'm going to go ahead and look over here, and I've got this window open. Let's see. I just searched this site, Brainy Quote. Let's see. That's a long one. Let's do this one. Alright, a lion runs fastest when he is hungry. Great. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and copy that text, and I will create I'll go to File, New, Legacy Title. And this is just the easiest way that I know how to make so this is going to be my quote title. And I'm going to put lion in here. This is the easiest way for the meantime. There's a new insert graphics templates here for creating titles in a new way. To be honest, don't really know much about it, so I know how this works. This is the old legacy title window. You can see you have title safe bars here for if you were to send this off to a broadcast studio or to something that was going on air. You would want your text to fit within these boundaries. So we can go ahead and click our type tool, click anywhere, and you'll see now we have a blinking cursor and a new interface here. I'm going to go ahead and just paste what I copied, and we can move it over using the move tool here. You could see we've got some extra stuff that was part of the metadata when we copied. So let's go ahead and just do this. And that looks good. Well, I think what I want is to have Salman Khan over here. And so I just have to change that up here in the right adjust. Just like in Microsoft Word or something. And you could go ahead and mess with the fonts and change it. I don't need to change it. I'm just doing this for demos purposes, but I will resize it a little bit. You can resize it here like that. That's probably pretty good. And we'll just keep it title safe for now. And all we do is close it out, and it will appear wherever we drop it, just like a regular clip. So it's in our video bin here. So I'm going to just drag it out, and I'm going to put it like maybe midway through this lion clip. I'm going to have this quote appear, and I could stretch it out, and that will make it stay on screen a little bit longer. And we could test it out by just scrubbing over it. And maybe that's a little long, so I'll just bring it in. Now, a new way we didn't talk about the effects panel, which I popped open while I paused the video because I want to show you this. This has some easy drag and drop dissolves that you can put in. So for instance, if say we want instead of the text to just pop on screen, we want it to sort of dissolve over the lion without messing around with keyframes. We could just click and drag cross dissolve on top, and now you can see it's actually blending from 0 opacity to 100%. And that would work on the exiting as well if we wanted to fade it out. And if we drag the clip, it will actually maintain the length of that cross dissolve. But we could also extend the cross dissolves themselves just by hovering over with our awesome selection tool to drag those out. And it's typically good practice to have your dissolves sort of matching. So gonna play that back. That's pretty cool. Okay, so instead of the audio just cutting off like that, we could go ahead and do an audio transition as well. We can do a fade, an exponential fade, and just drop that on here. And did that work? Let's try that again. There we go. Okay, so now this is going to still be pretty abrupt. If I play it back, see the default just kind of. I'm going to go ahead and extend that quite a ways so that we now get a nice long audio fade. And you can see we have a blank sort of unused sound clip that we're not using, so I'm going to go ahead and just delete this. And we could delete this whole track, to be honest. Maybe we can't because it's A1. Alright, not worried about that for now. So we go ahead and play this back. And you can hear it's a nice gradual fade out. And we could, as a finishing touch, just put some more cross dissolves on the video clips here. I'm actually going to dip to black, which in this case would have been the same effect because there's nothing below it, but it's just to show you there's a variety of different things that are nice and clean built into these default presets. So you want to mess around with those. And now finally just want to show you, now that we've got things set up, maybe we'll just go ahead and export this out so that you've got that down, the whole pipeline. So I'm going to go up here and I'll click save one more time, save our project. Don't worry about what's showing up here at the moment. What we're concerned with, we're going to export is our main sequence, right? Our main sequence. So this has to be open, and you want to make sure that you don't have any inadvertent in and out points. Like if I hit in point there, and you can see that we now are seeing our UI kind of update with this light gray color. That means that everything in front of that light gray color is going to be left out of any sort of exporting because we've set an in point. And the same would go if we had set an out point. So that would be the area that we would be exporting out. So you may want to do that at some point just to check something or send somebody a short section of your project. But for your final export, you don't want any in or out points. So let's go and right click and hit clear in and out. Okay, so now we're fine. It doesn't matter where your playhead is. We just need it to not have any in points or out points. So let's go to File, Export, Media. And you can see that if we move aside here, our total project length is 2721, and that matches our duration on our output file that we're going to get. You can see that it's got these options here. We don't have a sequence in and out point set, so it won't matter if this is set to entire sequence or in and out. Those are going to give you the same results. This is just for our sake of previewing here. What you want to make sure you have set is H.264 is the preferred format for our class as well as for uploading to YouTube. You want to match the source to get the HD video quality settings. You don't need to mess with anything else. I could change the name, but I'll just go ahead and leave it to match the name, and you can see I've got it set to my desktop. So I'm going to go ahead and click export, and it's going to render out it's going to encode and then render out my video clip. And that is, my friends, the entire export. You basically were partake in the entire process of starting with clips and working through some edits to finally having this sort of cool little video project that you can, share with people. Say, I've edited something. Go ahead and grab some B-roll. I will include in the link to my YouTube video down below. I'll include some links to some B-roll and audio sources for you guys. But have fun editing, and reach out if you have any questions.